So the White House is denying reports that it violated U.S. District Court judges' orders to stop the deportations of alleged Venezuelan gang members to a prison in El Salvador. The White House is using the Alien Enemies Act of 1798 to justify the deportations. And here's what border czar Tom Holman has to say about it.
The judge had a written order that said these 5 people can't be removed right now. It wasn't until this flight was already in international waters heading down to El Salvador that the judge made some comment about returning the flights. We're already in international waters. We're outside the borders of the United States. I'm the border czar. Once you're outside the border, you know, it is what it is. Every day, the men and women of ICE are going to be in the neighborhoods of this nation arresting criminal, illegal alien, public safety threats, and national security threats. Lawrence, you're not going to stop us. I don't care what the judges think. I don't care what the left thinks. We're coming.
So, is this defying a judge's orders a constitutional crisis? And were these people that they deported already in jail? Or were they people that they picked up? It's part of the problem, I think, for many people is you do stuff and nobody has any idea what's going on, you know? So because you have swept up many people in ICE who had no business being swept up. You swept up people who had no names, who are American citizens, and you don't pay attention to that. So people are saying, what is happening? And why are we paying to send the people elsewhere?
My understanding is they were in jail, but there's another question of due process then that comes ahead of a deportation order. I'll say this, I don't think it's at the point of a constitutional crisis. I think he went right up to the line of defying a federal judge's order. And where it gets, and I'll let Sunny speak to this because she's the lawyer here, but where it gets complicated is if the flights were in fact over international waters when this order came down verbally in court, it would be, at that point, it's out of his jurisdiction to turn it around. What I think is this, most Americans we know from the passing of the Lake and Riley Act and others generally support deporting people who've committed crimes in this country. But there is a process to do it, there's a legal way, and you cannot just defy federal judges' orders. But I would note, I think the White House realizes they're on shaky legal ground here because there was a quote today from a White House official. It's very important that people understand we are not actively defying court orders. So they're trying to walk this back a bit to say, oh, no, this wasn't an active, it was kind of a conflict of time.
So I actually do believe that we are in a constitutional crisis now because there are 3 co-equal branches of government, the legislative branch, the executive branch, and the judicial branch. And what we are seeing is an overreach from the executive branch, from the White House, into the judicial branch. Because what people are sort of failing to realize is, yes, there was an order while the plane was over international waters. But before then, there was what's called a temporary restraining order when that judge said they can't leave the United States without an immigration judge looking at it. And they just did this. Took it off. And they just put them on that plane anyway and flew them away. That is defying a federal court judge's order. You don't get to do that. Well, the last thing I'll say is that the Alien Enemies Act was created to give the president these wide powers during wartime, right? So they are declaring that we are at war. The only time that act has been used, just 3 times, during the War of 1812, the World War I and World War II, and it was used to intern our Japanese-American citizens. We should be very concerned that that is what this government is using to deport
and only Congress can declare war.
Go ahead.
So first of all, I don't give Donald Trump and his administration the benefit of the doubt that it was coincidental that this happened. I think it was very deliberate that they wanted this. I think they love the fact that we're talking about this because it means that we're not talking about the tanking markets because of his tariff hokey pokey. I also, want to make very clear, less than 0.09% of the Venezuelans in this country are suspected of being part of Tren de Aragua, which is a horrible gang. No immigrant in this country wants a criminal of the level of an MS-13 or a Tren de Aragua here. But it is very ironic because Venezuelans hugely supported Donald Trump. In fact, the area where his golf club is in Miami, Doral, is called Doralzuela. That's where a lot of them live. And since he got elected, he's gone to negotiate with Maduro, legitimizing a man who lost the election. He has removed TPS from hundreds of thousands of Venezuelans. That's temporary protective status, normalizing what's happening in Venezuela as if it's no longer a cruel dictatorship that jails and kills dissidents. He is reportedly about to put Venezuela in a ban list so nobody from Venezuela can travel here. And frankly, every time he opens his mouth about Venezuela, he portrays Venezuelans as if they were members of a gang, as if they were Tren de Aragua, when it's less than 600 people that are suspected of
And
being
there are
part of this.
800,000
Most
Venezuelans here.
Venezuelans are great people, good, hardworking people who want to live in freedom, are contributing to our country, are contributing to our society. A lot of them are my friends, are my neighbors. They live in Miami, and what he is doing to Venezuelans is disgusting. But you know what? You voted for that. You're finding out.
No, I feel the same way you do, Whoopi. It's the transparency. Because if they were to release who these people were, what they did, and that it was confirmed they are part of this gang, I think anyone would get on board. It's the fact that they keep hiding it and making mistakes that makes me weary.
Yeah, and you just got to keep your eyes open, y'all. Because if they can just come up and take somebody because they've made a decision that you're supposed to be that person, any one of us could find ourselves being deported to some country.
Don't give them any ideas, girl.
Well, listen, it is very clear to me that if we don't continue to say, listen, I understand you want to clean out all the bad stuff. I get it. But why do you now have access to my personal information? I get what the things you're trying to do. I don't understand why you're taking my stuff, not my personally, but each and every one of you.
And your constitutional
And
rights
your
of free speech.
constitutional rights of free speech, which, everybody says, you never let us say anything. We're, conservatives. And in fact, you're doing the same thing you are accusing everyone else of doing. And you're doing it in a way we've never seen before, because very few people have kept you from speaking out. But this is where we are now. Well, we're right here now. And you see, I beat the music. I beat the music.